Hi, everyone. Good night. Well, good evening, I should say. So, I wanted to do this live because the Unit 2 broad topics are out. So, I just wanted to discuss possibly the breakdown of the topics. So, you will have an idea. And I want to start back doing YouTube live. The thing is, so many students have been requesting, Miss, can you do YouTube, some more YouTube videos, or can you do a crash course? But I've been super busy because remember when I started School of Geography, it was in 2020 when we were in the pandemic, right? So we were working from home, and not that it was easier, but I didn't have to commute from work. So the commuting, it's traffic, and then of course I did not have lessons, so like in-person lessons. So now I have lessons after work as well, and that takes up a lot of my time. So when I'm finished with that, I'm really tired. But I'm gonna try to do at least a couple lives before each of the exams, CAPE Unit 1, Unit 2, and CSEC Geography. So the broad topics for CAPE Unit 2 is out, and we can go through a bit of it, what is there on the topics, right? So for the topics for CAPE Unit 2, they have, if you are able to pull it up, they have map reading, right? The map reading. Then you have agriculture, transit surveys, urbanization, types of economic activity, settlements. Um, Let me see if I pull up the other document. It's slightly blurry. So I'm trying to pull up the broad topics document. Okay, so CSAC and Unit 1 broad topics are not out yet. So we're working with, of course, the Unit 2, right? The Unit 2. So this is strictly Unit 2 students I'm addressing with respect to the broad topics and how we're going to do it. So you have the map reading skills, agriculture, transit surveys, urbanization, types of economic activities, settlements, payments rank, solar radiation, tricellular model, global vegetation, type and distribution, industrialization and economic activity, agricultural and climate change development, disparities in development, life expectancy, and Friedman's core periphery model. And that gives you the breakdown of the broad topics. So, how it's broken down, and you all should take note of this. I believe that in your map work, they're going to cover these things. So, they're going to ask you something with agriculture, transit, and usually this question is something on vegetation with transit, where they're going to ask you like to um they're going to give you the map, and they're going to ask you to what method can be used to survey the area. If it's a transect, you can see a line transect, a belt transect, right? And then you have to give the method. How do you actually construct that survey utilizing the area that they ask you? So that is how that usually comes. So we can go through some questions on that. Urbanization, the and types of economic activity. So they're going to ask you something on the map in terms of settlement patterns, identifying the patterns, I guess distribution, economic activities as well, that goes along with settlement, and you get in a spearman's rank question. And I'm really, really happy about that, because spearman's rank is, once you learn the skill, once you learn the formula, it is a straightforward 12 to 15 marks all of the time. So if you master that, you're going to do, it's 15 marks that you get in your map work section, right? Like I was explaining to some of my students, to study for the exam, there's a technique, there's a way that you should probably be studying. Um, Not that I'm saying that this is what you should do, but these are some ideas, and you incorporate it, of course, with the way that you learn best. So, what I do, or what I tell my students, is first you go through all of the specific objectives, because the specific objectives is gonna be where your exam they're gonna test you from. So you would see you have those explain, describe, assess, and that is broken down into the P1, Profile 2, Profile 3 distribution of the marks. So you look at your objectives, and then the objectives has corresponding content that should be covered so that you can answer the objective. So when you are studying, you have to make sure that at the end of studying the content that your teacher taught, or the content that you went through, you are able now to answer the specific objectives, whether it's assess or explain, because that is what they're going to test you on in the exam. So that is one thing. Another thing I was saying, telling them, the structure of the exam. Remember, map work is 45 marks in for CAPE, both Unit 1 and Unit 2. Unlike CSEC, I think it's 25, and then the other sections are 30. For CAPE, it's 45, 30, 30, 30, which means that your map work portion of the exam is weighted very heavily, and it is the heaviest weighted in terms of marks, you know, on the exam. And it is one of the most poorly done sections of the exam. So one of the reasons when I looked at it, why many people don't get grade ones in geography, it's because you all perform so badly. The students, I should say, because you all haven't sat that exam, perform very badly, and this is generally over the years in the map reading. So you really want to get enough practice. If you can get in at least 10 years of practice, that would be ideal, because the more you do the maps, the more you get accustomed, you know what they're looking for, what they want. One of the easier way of obtaining marks in Unit 2 is getting that Spearman's rank question, and also getting a question on synoptic chart. So if you notice, synoptic charts with weather is not really on that portion. So I think the objectives are also, the broad topics that they gave you are also covered. Um, they're also covered by the way in which the exam is going to be structured in different sections. So up to 7, I believe it's going to be targeting your map week area, right? And because of that, it's easy to get that Spearman's rank 15 marks. So you really, really, really want to do well, right? So you really want to do well on that portion of the exam. Just give me a second here. Okay, so another area that you can get easy marks, or you should be able to obtain most of the marks, is that question on settlement patterns or distribution. That structure is straightforward and you should get those marks. Transect is also an area to get the marks, right? Then, of course, you're going to get your module one, which is climate, vegetation, soils, unit two. So you see here they have solar radiation, tricellular model, global vegetation, right? And distribution. So that is going to be the vegetation types like equatorial, coniferous, rainforest, right? You that portion is going to be your module one question. So what is another study tip you can do is under those areas, you look through all of your past paper years that you have and you pull out of those questions. Pull out those questions that target solar radiation, tricellular model, global vegetation distribution. That is really, really important. And when you do that, you pull out those those actual topics, the questions under those topics, then you can also go to the CAPE reports. Every year after the exam, they provide you with a report on how the students did, how well they did, and they also sometimes give you the answers, right? So if you go to your CAPE reports, you also pull out the answers that they may want, so you know when you get a particular answer, that particular question, sorry, you know what answer to provide because you have a guideline from the report as in what they want. So I tell my students, you pull out all of the questions and then you get the reports to back it up, right? You get your reports, and using that report you can help you answer that question. Also, sometimes I know some of you are very networked, very well networked with different students from different schools in different Discord groups, channels, and you all may even get the actual marking sheets. Yeah, some of you all have access to that. So if you all get answers, put the answers together with the corresponding question, right? So that is going to take care of module one, which is going to stop from global vegetation type and distribution. I'm seeing two people here. Hi, I'm just discussing the broad topics and how you should approach, or I'm giving some tips of how you can probably approach studying for it. And I'm going to start doing more lives as I try to get a little more time to do live so that I can do, of course, some exam papers and map reading to help you all, because I was saying that students usually um, perform poorly on the map reading. That 45 mark question is what really differentiate that student who gets the grade A, grade one from the grade two, because it's 45 marks and then the other sections are 30. So you really need to do very well on that module of the map reading section of your exam. Hi, Alex, how are you? Right? Then we move on to module 2, which falls under industrialization and economic activity, the broad topics, agriculture, rural, and climate change development. So the actual question or the question area, right, for module 2, I believe it's going to come from these two objectives, well, these two numbers under the broad topics, which is 11 and 12, which means you're going to have to learn industrialization, deindustrialization factors influence industrialization in an MEDC, that your case studies, you have to have case studies, and of course, economic activities, the type all the way up to culinary. Remember, industrialization, you talk about the different types of industrialization, industrialization by invitation, all of that going to come in there. Then you have agriculture, rural, and climate change development. So with agriculture, they didn't state Von Tunen's agricultural model, but maybe they can test. So you have to be, although they just said agricultural, you want to be careful, right? Climate change development. How does climate change influence agriculture? In some instances, we have climate change that accelerates plant growth, etc. So how is it influencing agriculture development? So I would say, of course, both of the positive impacts of climate change as well as the negative impacts, how it's going to impact on agricultural development, right? So that is under, and of course, you have the things like sea level rise and all of that, flooding, your crops become vulnerable, all of that, it's under that module. Then your last module, module 3, you have disparities in development, which is a nice area. So disparities, you talk about the economic, non-economic indicators, and of course they break down disparities. This is the thing, disparities is so large, I'm not too sure which portion they can pull it from, because it can be global disparities in development, it can be regional disparities in development, or it can be local. And with respect to that, you also have the models. You have colonialism, Andre Gada Frank model of development of underdevelopment. Then you also have marital core periphery model, and then you have core periphery model. So you have Rostos as well. So on the global. So it's quite a bit um, looking at disparities. You have life expectancy. I'm not too sure what exactly they can bring there, but it's again an indicator of development. So they can ask you to discuss that. And then, of course, they actually put a model here for you. So once you know that corporate free model is going to be fine. What I told my students in school, and I think you also have time, you all have 2 weeks. You should at least by now have all the major models under your syllabus visually drawn somewhere and summarized. So every time you see it, you can have a visual look at it as well, and also recall what is the model. So things like that tricellular model that is going to come, you all should know that the global heat balance, because they talk about solar radiation, so they might ask you about the global heat balance, the budget, right? Tricellular model, you have core periphery model, those models that they point out under the front broad topics. By now, you should have a visual view of it. You should have what the model is about, and of course, you should be continually having that in a view so that you know, right? So what you can do, Alex, I'm seeing you're the only one here. You can, as I was saying, on the different areas section of different module areas, pull out all of the question papers that you can, all of the past papers, at least 10 years of practice, and go and download the reports, the CAPE reports. They have it on the CXC website, just like your CAPE syllabus. Download the reports and get the corresponding answers or what comments they made, so you will know what answers they are looking for. And then I really want you all to focus on your map work. So I'm going to be doing some classes. I have a crash course that is going to be on, I believe that's the 22nd. Yeah, and I'm trying to do it in person so that you all can have, well, students who attend will have hands-on experience with the map, because doing the map online is very difficult. It's blurry sometimes, you all cannot see. It's difficult, but I'm still going to do some on YouTube, so students who cannot make the crash course, at least they will have some benefit, and practicing really, 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 for you all to get very good on your map reading skills so that you can pass the exam with a good grade. All right, so that's just my little review on the broad topics. I think it is okay. You have a guide, um, and everything there. I think you should teachers should have covered, so you should be able to study for it, right? I have a Discord channel. Alex, are you in that Discord channel? A Discord channel for Cape Unit 2. If you are looking at this video and you want to contact me, right, um, my contact number is 302-6933, and I will post there when I'm going live. And if you need any help, or I would try to respond. Remember, I am also a full-time teacher, and my students are coming to school still because they want help. We are doing past papers in school. So what I'm doing when I'm doing past papers with them, when I'm doing maps with them, I'm gonna just open up a Zoom and let you all in as well, so you all can get a benefit of practicing with my students and others, so that it benefits you all, right? So I will tell you all when I'm going live tomorrow. Actually, the first three periods from 8, they're going to be there. Well, most of the day, half day. From morning, we're going to do some maps, we're going to do some questions. So I'm going to do a Zoom in the morning, and you all can join. Feel free to join. The Zoom is in the Discord, and let's get prepared for the exam. All right, so have a good night. I hope this is beneficial. And if you have any questions, shoot me a WhatsApp. Okay, so have a good night, everyone. Bye, Alex. You're welcome, Alex. It's no problem.